Welcome to the Gamescape, everybody. My name is Jack, and today we're back in Chaos Gate Demon Hunters. This is my guide on the Interceptor class, which is one of the 4 basic classes of soldier that you get when you're starting the game out. And I just wanted to take some time and go over the skills and give you some ideas on how to build out an Interceptor, kind of go over what his roles are within the team and kind of see what we can do with him. So let's dig in here. This guy is level 0. He hasn't even gotten his first promotion yet, so he's going to have an empty skill tree. And so the Interceptor is exactly what his name implies. He is the guy that goes and attacks the enemy, cuts them off, catches up to them, and just destroys them with his weapons. Now, what you need to do with an Interceptor is right at the very start, you need to decide, is he going to be ranged or is he going to be melee? Now, most of your Interceptors are probably going to be melee, but they don't have to be. The skill tree here has the ability for him to gain the silencer heavy weapon, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But what you want to do usually is you want to start with what is his passive skill ability that he gets, his personal skill, and that's here in the center. If you look up here in the panel, you can see his is the Omnisize Chosen. This knight gains double the effects from Augmentics installed due to critical wounds. Okay, that doesn't really help us in this case, but sometimes his extra skill might inform how you're going to build out your soldier. In this case, it doesn't help. If the guy gets critically wounded and he ends up getting cybernetics to help him heal up, they just have double the effect, which is fine. Not very informative for us though. So we need to decide, like I said, ranged or melee, because you don't have enough skill picks in 9 levels to do both correctly. And he can't ever get Terminator armor, so he can't ever have both a melee weapon and a heavy weapon. And so we need to pick one or the other and kind of stick with it throughout the course of his adventure. So let's talk first about just some of the basics and what can you do with the Interceptor. Like I said, ranged and melee are basically his 2 things. Let's start up here. So the first set of skills that he gets here, his Cybolt on his Stormbolter gains +1 damage. You're going to probably get that. That's a good one to pick up whether you're ranged or melee, because there are times where he's going to be using his Stormbolter anyway. If you decide to go with the heavy weapon range though, you're going to come up here into Psychic Suppression, and this is the ability to suppress the use of psychic abilities on the enemy for multiple turns. Starts out with the base ability, it's 1 action point, one will point, and you inflict silence on the enemy for 1 turn. Now that can be resisted, as most effects can be, but it's 100%, so it's basically they have their resistance chance to plus your focus minus your focus to resist it. Okay, silence is okay. There are some enemies within the game that it's good to silence them. In the early game, that's going to be your cultist priests that run around with the staffs, and they're up in the warp surge meter, and they're adding mutations to their guys and stuff like that. Your first 2 picks then, if you're going to go ranged, are going to be this and this. You're going to get into Psychic Suppression. Level 2, when he gets his first promotion, you're going to take this, upgrade the duration of silence, and you're going to open up the Silencer heavy weapon. Now the Silencer heavy weapon is an interesting thing because it's got very good range. The base model has range 14, which is very long range in this game, and it does decent damage. I think it does 4 damage on the base model, which is it's about average for a good weapon. And it's special two things that it can do. You can't overwatch with it, but you can, as part of your attack, get a cone area of effect attack, and we can go take a look at it real quick. Let's just grab one real quick and let's take a look. So the Silencer, he doesn't have the skill yet, so we can't actually equip it, but we can look at it. So if we look, 4 damage base, range 14 base, 4 ammo, which is pretty good. You can activate Disrupt Shot, which adds a willpower point to the shot, but it afflicts Disrupted. Disrupted in this game is a very good ability to be able to throw around. Especially early in the game, you're going to run up against a bunch of cultists, and they are going to have abilities. They're going to be using a lot of overwatches, and there are some of them that are going to be able to do suppression fire. Suppression fire in the early game is super annoying because they can do it from a very long way away, and if you try to break out of it by just soaking the damage, you take double damage or maybe 2.5 times the damage of the weapon. It's brutal. And so if you can disrupt an enemy, you can get rid of that and they won't be able to do anything else. Slightly later, you start running up against demons that have parry as their base ability. So they have a 50% chance to parry your attack. This will stop that from happening too. So any basic prepared abilities or any of their auto abilities that the enemy has, Disrupt can get rid of. Now, again, Disrupt can be resisted, so it's not 100% chance that it's going to work all the time, especially when you start looking at harder enemies, more higher tiered enemies, but it's a very good ability. The other thing that it brings is this scatter shot ability, which is targeted spread attack over arc 45 at range 7, deal +1 damage per 2 ammo, and it depletes all of your ammo. So however much ammo you have left in your gun is going to be gone. Every 2 full rounds that it's carrying is an extra damage to the weapon's actual damage. So if you're fully loaded, you get 6 damage instead of 4. Arc 45 range 7 is an Overwatch cone that's half again as wide as the Overwatch cone. So same distance, and half again as wide. So decent, it's not like the whole map or anything like that, but it's okay. The interesting thing that the Interceptor class brings that the Purgator class doesn't, the Purgator being the other class that can use these heavy weapons, is the ability for the soldier to teleport. And that's going to be where you're going to go next, because you're going to be able to use that teleport ability to get right up in there and really use that scatter shot ability effectively. One of the things that the Purgator suffers from is it's kind of slow. And so getting within 7 of a target, or especially multiple targets, isn't always the easiest thing for it to do. Teleportation fixes that problem. So your first 2 abilities going to be here, second 2 here, third you're going to pick up extra will points, and you're going to pick up teleport, okay, if you're going to go for the ranged build. Fourth ability, increase the range to 15 on your teleport. Absolutely must have that. And what you're going to do is you're going to be working your way down into here, because there's some interesting stuff down in here. Your second pick for level 3 can be either this, or you could pick up this if you really wanted the extra turn. Either one's okay. But you're going to work your way down into this section. What is this? This is support fire discipline. Basically what this is, when another one of your soldiers shoots an enemy that's within your range, you get to shoot at it as well for 2 damage. And with that range 14 gun, that's a big area that you can cover. Now you have to have line of sight too, so that's a thing, but being able to shoot at somebody else 14 away is free damage. And then if you pick up these other 2 abilities, it goes from 2 to 5. 2 points of damage to 5 points of damage. But the most important thing in this is this ability right here. This one is the Enduring Reflexes. This knight gains +1 use per turn for all of their auto abilities. Now, why is that important? This is also an auto ability, right? So this affects this. You get to shoot twice per turn at your friends' targets, assuming you have ammo, right? Now this doesn't drain your weapon like the scatter shot does, but you do still have to hit. It does still reduce your ammo, so you have to bear in mind how much ammo you've got left. But it's free damage, and that's why it's such a great ability, right? So you get these all set up like this. You get all 4 of these. You're dealing an extra 10 points of damage per turn. Doesn't cost you anything, except maybe you'll have to reload when it gets to your turn. Very, very, very good ability. And this ability stacks with this a little bit. This one right here is 50% chance per use of teleport to gain an extra action point. So every time you teleport, you have a 50-50 chance to get another action point for free, because you can teleport and then do teleport strike, and both of those give you a chance to get an extra action point. Are you going to do that much? It's very willpower intensive to do that. So I don't know if that's really going to be something that you're going to do a lot of, but the option is there. Teleport strike, you can still pick up. You do not have to have a melee weapon to do teleport strike. It seems like you should have to, but you don't. So this doesn't, the damage for this isn't based on any weapon or anything like that. It's just 4 points of damage, upgradable to 5, warp chargeable to 7. To do that if you want to go with that route too. Now this is optional. You don't have to go here. Just this, and this with this ability alone is going to be well worth you buying this. And so it's definitely where you want to go. So if you're going to do this, you're going to go with the range attack. You're going to go level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, and maybe this one, or maybe you pick this one up. After that, you kind of have your choice, right? Ignore this whole half of the skill tree. If you're going ranged, don't bother with the melee stuff, okay? You either go up here into teleport strike, which is a nice option because it does give your interceptor another area of effect ability. What this does is this allows you to move a total of 15 squares if you have the extended range, or 10 if you don't. And as many guys as you can touch in that 15 squares and still land next, still be able to land not on top of one, you get to do this damage to each one. So it's effectively an area of effect attack in whatever area pattern you need it to be to catch the guys that you want. It's really, really handy ability. Really great for adding a lot of extra damage. It's pretty willpower intensive, especially if you're warp charging it. You're spending 4 will points on it, but it's 7 damage to as many guys as you can touch in that area. So it's really good. The other place you're going to maybe want to go is down here. Get your Aegis shield pumped up a little bit. Extra willpower is always good. Don't ever be afraid to pick up extra willpower if you don't have anything else to do. But you can get down here. The nice thing about getting down in here is there's a free war gear slot down in here, which is also worth it if you have the points to get down to it left over after you've got your build happy, where if you're happy with the build that you have. So this war gear slot is any kind of war gear. It's not specific to grenades or skulls or anything like that, or passives. You can put anything you want in there. So that's very powerful. Most of the time when a soldier gets the extra war gear slot, it's for a specific thing. Like the Purgator gets one for grenades only, for instance. So this is really flexible. This allows you to gain, you can have a servo skull and carry an incense ball for extra willpower, for instance, or whatever, right? You can have, if you're going to go the melee path, you can have both the incense and the Demonica, and whatever for the extra plus crit. Okay, so that's your ranged attacker, right? Pick up the silencer, get into teleport, get down here, get the support fire stuff all filled out, all of it, and then decide whether you want either Aegis shield or teleport strike. I would recommend teleport strike, to be honest. Getting the extra war gear slot is good, but it's going to cost you 2 of your levels to do it, because you have to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 of your levels, and you won't be able to do teleport strike very well, or you'll have to lose out on damage here for something. So I wouldn't. This would be my secondary choice, but it's really up to you how you want to play. I'd like to be a little more offensive and not really depend on my Aegis shields anyway. But again, the extra war gear slot, you got to weigh that, because that's very powerful and adds a lot of flexibility to your soldier. So that's your ranged. Melee. With your melee guy, you're going to go, there's some really interesting stuff with melee here. So we already talked about this ability that gives you extra uses for your auto abilities. A couple of the melee weapons have auto abilities. The Force Sword allows you to parry, gives you a 50% chance to parry, and the Halberd allows you 25% chance to auto strike any enemy moving next to you. With this ability, they can do it twice per turn, just like everything else. And that's 2 successful tries, right? So if you don't happen to get it and the next guy comes in, that's still just 1. If it's how many times it actually activates, not how many tries you get. So you get this, and then you combine it with this one up here in this corner. Melee weapons. This is your melee weapon discipline up here. But this particular one, when this knight crits a target with a melee attack, which you're going to be doing, they have a 50% chance to gain another action point. That's potentially 2 extra action points every turn. So for your melee interceptor, I go level 1 here, get hammer hand and get force strike upgrade. Level 2, pick up the will points, pick up teleport. Now you're mobile with your melee attacks. Very good ability, excellent ability. Level 3, pick up the extended range, get into support fire. Okay, this alone isn't very good because it's 2 points of damage once per turn, but it gets much better with the rest of these. So that's level 3. Level 4, you pick up this and maybe one of these. Probably the +2 damage here. Okay, so now you're doing 3 damage or 4 damage per hit. Level 5, now you're going up into here. You pick up the +1 crit damage and you pick up the +5% crit chance. Level 6, you pick up the Ruthless Precision. And with these two, you're in really nice shape for extra damage. And then you can fill out the rest of this. You can get down here into this if you want to. You can get up here into this if you want to. It really doesn't matter after that. I do like to have the Teleport Strike for the area of effect attack. And that's the only area of effect attack that your melee interceptor is going to get. So that's probably where you want to go. Again, the Aegis Shield, the extra war gear slot, great if you can fit them in. Tough to fit them in because that's another 2 levels that you have to dedicate to it that really ought to be more up here maybe. But again, up to you. Make your own choice. Down here in this corner, you've got the Cleansing Strike, which is interesting. It is 3 damage and 100% purge, which takes away any enemy mutations. The thing about this is I didn't ever really think that I had any big problems with too many mutations coming out. Now, there are some enemies in the game that get upgraded mutations every turn, and it can get out of hand. But if you're really being aggressive and you're killing these guys quickly, it's usually not too much of a problem. The other thing with this is the Purgator is better at this than the Interceptor is. The Purgator gets an ability that does this at a range over an area. This is a melee attack. And so if you need somebody to do purges, I would actually get one of your Purgators to skill into that and not bother with your melee guys doing it, because it's just easier for the Purgator to do it. They have a bigger area and it's at range, and they just have a better ability to do it. Down in here, this is a little bit of damage, but it's not significant damage. You're better off hitting them than doing this ability with just a regular melee attack. Even with the extra damage, it's still only 5. You can find weapons that do 5 damage base. That's not a problem. So I wouldn't really bother with this set of abilities down here. This one down here is 4 extra max health. Again, you can do that with armor too. There's plenty of armor suits out there that add max hit points. So for me, this lower right corner tree is not really that great. I don't think it's worth it. There's just better options if you want the purge ability, and it's definitely not worth giving up these other 3 corners for. So again, you play your game, you know your style. You can build out your guys to your best of your ability. My advice, don't worry about this. There are better choices for your Interceptor. So that's about it for the skills. I think we've pretty much covered anything. Let's talk about kitting them out. And this guy hasn't been out on a mission yet. This is just what he came with. This right here is a travesty. Do not put a warding stave in this guy's hand. Absolutely, absolutely don't do that. The plus 25% chance to him putting his Aegis shield up is not worth the extra damage you're losing out on. These weapons, the warding staves, have a base damage of 3 instead of 4. And the only other real benefit they give you is that 25% chance, 1 in 4 turns, this guy's going to get his Aegis shield to come up. That's not even a good ability, because if you need your Aegis shield, you're going to put it up yourself. You can't count if you need it. You know you need it. You guys are tanking up, and you're not going to kill a bunch of guys, and you're going to have to take some damage and soak it. You can't wait and see if the 25% chance is going to kick off, because if it doesn't, then you're just in trouble. And so this ability, outside of a librarian, is not good. It's just not good, because like I said, if you need the shield, you're going to put it up. If you don't, okay, it's a nice bonus to have, but it isn't worth giving up the extra point of damage on every hit that you make. So absolutely do not give him a warding stave. That's a terrible idea. Couple of good ideas. Force Sword gives him parry. This is good for survivability early in the game. Okay. something's going to run up to him, cultists or a demon or whatever, he's got a 50% chance to parry that. You give him that with his extra auto use per turn. He's got 2 chances. He's got chances to parry 2 attacks instead of 1. Okay. Good damage. And the nice thing about the Interceptor too, I didn't talk about this, but the class's ability is their melee attacks cannot be parried. And you're going to run into demons early on, the plague bearers, that have a 50% chance to parry just the first, it only works once, obviously, like all other autos, but it's really annoying when your Justicar goes in there with his big old hammer or whatever he's got, and he takes a swing and clunk, nope, he parried it. These guys can't be parried. So these guys are ideal for dealing with those particular demons. Then you turn around and you can parry back if you don't quite get the job done. This can happen too. If you have, sorry, I didn't mean to click off that. If you are up against, say, a Plague Marine and you manage to crit and you get rid of his ranged weapon, his bolt gun, then he's going to attack you with his combat knife. And that chance to parry it's really nice because they disrupt if they hit you. So you might be able to just parry that off. And then if he tries to run away from you, you get to attack him. And so it's really good. The next thing that you want, once you're focused on critical hits, which is when you get into the upper right corner of your skill tree there, falchions are amazing. They add a plus 5% crit chance per just base. But you can find war gear like tier 2, tier 3 falchions out there that are much better. I had in my legendary campaign, by the end, I had one of my interceptors kitted out. He had these tier 3 falchions, and he had the Domina Libra, which is the I'll show you that real quick too. It's war gear equipment. You come in here, it's this book right here, gains an extra plus 2 crit damage and plus 15% crit for their melee attacks. You absolutely 100% want this on your melee interceptors. Must have it. The only reason you would not take this is if you need to have Sacred Incense instead, for the extra willpower, which you might early in the game. More willpower is always good. This is where that extra war gear slot can come in handy in his Aegis Shield ability. But again, getting down into it isn't that easy to do, and still have the total build that you want at the end. So another option for these guys is the Halberd, right? I don't generally run hammers with these guys, which you could. You absolutely could run a hammer. The Demon Hammer gets plus 2 damage on its force strike instead of plus 1, which is pretty good. That's a lot of extra damage, especially early on. And if you have it, this hammer, Destroyer of Chrysalics, this comes with the game, and you should have it probably. This is an amazing weapon, but it is based around stunning the enemy more than it is around hurting them. And that's not even 100% true, because it gets plus 1 crit damage and plus 10% crit chance. The problem is it's unique. You only get one. So I usually have this in the hands of one of my Justicars, not in my Interceptor's hands. But you can put this in an Interceptor's hand. It's not a problem. So that's going to be it. The Halberd is okay. Halberds upgraded Halberds tend to do a little bit more damage. Usually they're 5 or 6 instead of 4. Plus 1 force strike. This guy's auto is 25% per strike chance. That's another one of those that's okay. It's not that great on its own because, number one, guys don't run up to you that often or run past you that often. And even when they do, you're only going to get it 25% of the time. So this is not my favorite weapon. I really would recommend either a Force Sword or Falchions instead for your Interceptor. That's that. Obviously, for your ranged guy, you're going to want him to have the best silencer you can find for him. Starting off, you'll probably have these. These are the ones that were supposed to be the Twitch gifts that they then just decided to give everybody instead. It's only a plus 5% crit chance, but you know, you'll hit that 1 in 20. That's not the worst thing. And like I said, you get the disrupt shot with your warp charge. Add the plus 1 willpower for that. Disrupting is great. Scatter shot with teleport, really good, because you can position yourself exactly where you need to be to get the most out of your scatter shot, and you don't have to worry about running through overwatches, and you can teleport out of a suppression pin that you might be under, anything like that. This one does plus 5% crit chance. That's just the extra bonus for that. This one does plus crit damage. This might be a better option potentially. You might get more out of the damage than the shot. That's up to you. With your bolter, if you don't have the heavy weapon, with your bolter, you want to give him one. If he's melee, give him the bolter you have that has the most ammo in it, that you're not really counting on for anything else. Also, anything that gets plus range is good for him too, so that he gets the most out of his support fire ability. I found a bolter in my legendary campaign that had 6 rounds of ammo in it, or 8. I think it was 8 actually. Oh, 6 plus, I had it on somebody who had +2 ammo, just from skills. So having 6 shots for your support fire means you don't have to reload for a while, a few turns, and it's not something you have to worry about. You're just dishing that damage early and often, and the plus range is great. I wouldn't go lower range if you can help it. Some of these bolters do a little more damage, but they only have range 8. I don't think that's your best bet, but maybe it is. But the bolter's damage itself doesn't matter for the ability, you know, the support fire ability. It will when you're shooting, obviously, and you will be shooting sometimes, but that's less common. No, I take that back, because there's gonna be times you're gonna want to conserve your will points. You're not gonna be wanting to be teleporting all over the place and whatever. So you will be getting into firefights even with your interceptors. But anyway, that's what you're looking for. Bolter with the most ammo. Don't waste your war gear slots on extra ammo items though with the interceptor. Not worth it. It's just kind of icing on the cake if you can find one with more ammo, so that you don't have to spend as much time reloading from your support fire shots. Okay. For armor, you want a few things. Plus willpower is always good. Plus willpower armor is always good. Now he can only use power armor. I have a suit here. This one's plus resistances. I'm not a huge fan of plus resistance on armor. It's okay, but I don't know. There's better choices usually. If that's all you've got, then great, use it. But if you've got plus willpower, that's good. If you have plus focus, that's really good. Anything that increases your speed, right? Sometimes there's armor that has plus speed. That's excellent too. So those are kind of the first things you want to be looking for armor for your interceptor. The willpower armor, there's a lot of contention because every class needs more willpower. You just can't have too much willpower, and so that's kind of the thing there. Again, grenades, I wouldn't bother with grenades on your interceptor. You can if you really like them. The Purgator is a better grenadier. If you want a dedicated grenadier, the Purgator, I'll do a video on the Purgator too, but the Purgator is much better at grenades than the interceptor is. Go with the skull, go with the Domina Libra book that gives you the plus crit damage and plus crit chance on your melee. Go with the incense burner, go with the Medicae skull for extra healing. I wouldn't bother with the grenade. And there's exceptions to that. If you've got like a glorious deed that you have to kill so many guys with grenades, then maybe you want to take the grenade for that one mission. That's fine. If you've got mitigating circumstances, that's okay. But anyway, that's kind of how you basically want to get this guy out. Last thing I want to talk about really quick is supporting this guy, because some of your other classes can support this guy pretty well. Number one, Justicar has the ability to transfer action points around. So does the Paladin. No, that's will points. Sorry. The Justicar has the ability to transfer action points. If you can transfer action points to this guy while he's already in it, that's probably going to be a good thing. So that's good support. The Apothecary has a couple of biomancies that really help this guy out. The big one that really helps him out is the warp speed biomancy. We'll talk about that in the Apothecary video too, but the very quick version of it is for 1 turn, extendable to 2 turns, he gets +1 speed, so he's speed 6 or whatever, and he gets plus crit damage on his attacks. Both of those are really good, especially if you're doing the melee build where he's got, the falchions. He's going to be doing a lot of critting. That's going to help you out a ton. The other biomancy that really helps him out is the Iron Arm biomancy if you're looking for stuns and executions. Iron Arm adds +2 stun to every melee attack on whoever gets it. Again, that's kind of in the way I've played it, that's kind of been more the Justicar's realm than the Interceptor's realm, but there's no reason why your Interceptor can't have the big hammer and be doing a whole bunch of crit, a whole bunch of stun damage and executions. You can. that's perfectly okay. So, and then the last thing that I can think of right off the top of my head where this guy kind of benefits from is the chaplain has a litany that will potentially allow him to gain a will point back every time he uses, well, not every time, the first time or the second time because of his special ability. Every time he uses a force strike or a psi bolt or a warp charge on his abilities. So that's some extra support that this guy can get from his teammates. And so anyway, I think that's about all I have to say about the Interceptors. So if you've enjoyed this video, I hope it's been helpful. Do me a big favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.